Aregbesola broke the jinx. He was applauded twice at the polls. They wanted him again for doing so well.
láti gbọ̀ngàn lọ sí Ọ̀dẹ́yìnká lọ sí orílẹ̀ Òwu tó fi dé Arárọ̀ mélòó ní kàkà iléèwé ńkọ́ àwọn ọmọ ń gbọ́ ẹ̀kẹ́ bọ̀ọ̀lì iléèwé sì wọ́n ń jẹun alẹ́gbẹ́.
kẹ́ ẹ lajú yín lẹ̀ kó ríran ẹ mú búrẹ́dì dání ebi ìjọba ò ní payé o eléyìí ó lè yá kó yá o ó lè yá kó yá ó lè yá kó yá o ó lè yá kó yá.
To secure another 4 years in office, Ogbeni Rauf Aregbesola polled a total of 394,684 votes to defeat People's Democratic Party (PDP's) candidate Iyola Omishore, who got 292,747 votes. Thus, Aregbesola trounced Omishore in 22 local government areas.
Ogbeni Rauf Aregbesola of APC is hereby declared the winner and is returned elected.
The election has been won and lost. However, there are two particular incidents around the August 9 election that are worthy of note because they are unprecedented in the history of the state and in Nigeria. Osun electorate have gone to the polls 5 times to decide whom their governors would be. For those number of times, 4 people have emerged and ruled the states, including Alhaji Isiaka Adetunji Adeleke, Chief Bisi Akande, Prince Olagunsoye Oyinlola, and Ogbeni Rauf Aregbesola. Apart from Adeleke era that was truncated and there was a military interregnum, successive governors have asked for a second term in office. They were never returned. That has been the trend. Osun does not serve one man twice was a common slogan, meaning that Osun people do not fancy having a governor to rule over them for 2 terms.
It is true that it is just a general saying by the entire Osun people that they don't usually vote for a man 2 times. But it depends upon what they did.
Soon enough, the people saw the need for the jinx to be broken.
The people were so amazed that if the constitution of Nigeria allows this man to do 3 or 4 times, they will vote for him. That the slogan change was unprecedented. That Aregbesola broke the jinx by his second-term victory was historical. However, more historical is it that the Osun electorate were humiliated
brutalized for their choice to return their governor the second time. About a week before the election, the hitherto peaceful streets of Osun had changed into frightening spectacles with the invasion of security operatives, including the army.
It has never happened in the history of Nigeria to have an invasion of an army and to see all those trucks full of soldiers parading Osun, occasionally firing their guns, some wearing fearsome masks, which reminds one not of an army, but either of assassins or even armed robbers and so on. But this time sponsored by the state. It was a very frightening spectacle.
Over 70,000 security operatives were deployed to the streets of Osun 1 week before the election. The people have never witnessed such, seeing huge number of gun-toting men with dogs. This has never happened.
It has never happened in the history of Nigeria that security personnel will mask their identity, will hide their faces. It's not part of our law, it's not part of our culture, it's not part of our tradition.
They carried out a number of show of strength across major towns of the state, including the occupation of venues of public events. A major occupation was captured 2 days to the election when the gun-toting security men with masks on their faces chased away innocent residents of Osogbo from the popular Mandela Freedom Park. For expressing preference for Agbeshola, Osun people were put under fear and detention for the period of the election. The intimidation knew no bounds. Male and female, young and old were arrested, beaten, wounded, and grossly humiliated. It was disturbing.
I was particularly disturbed when I got a call in the dead of the night on the eve of that election that an 80-year-old lawyer in Okela was arrested. The old man was then mourning the loss of his daughter.
The shock of her sudden departure was so much on me.
And there were more shock to befall the octogenarian as masked security men literally pounced on him in his hometown in Okela.
There were about 4 or 5 security men, some masked, some with unmasked, and that was the order. Please take him to the vehicle. And I said, later, just listen to me. I'm not prepared to listen to you. Don't talk to me, otherwise I blow your head.
It was totally abnormal.
Indeed, a totally abnormal situation is when there is deviation from what is normal or usual. It is deviant that Nigeria's security operatives would hide their identity and pounce on law-abiding citizens, threatening to kill them in their homes.
Who are you? Who are you? Please, let what we are holding our meeting here. Who are you? I cannot open this up.
As I was passing between that building behind there, I slipped and fell down.
Tọkànládé ọkọ̀ àmì gànàgàn ó ṣàdé nígbà tó dé náà ní káwọn sọ̀kalẹ̀ bàbá ní kò fẹ́ tọ̀ ibi tí a ti gbé bàbá pé kó sọ̀kalẹ̀ níbẹ̀ ni mo ti fi ṣọwọ́ ẹ̀ mo ti fi erúkún ìsọlẹ̀ yìí.
The deployment of the armed forces is a serious constitutional matter, even in the northeast region, where a war has been declared by the government. The president had to pursuant to Section 305 of the Constitution, had to declare a state of emergency. And following that, the president had to request the National Assembly to ratify such declaration so that he could adopt extraordinary measures, including the deployment of troops. But in an election, there's no such provision.
If you look at Section 217, which is the only section of the Constitution empowering the use of armed forces, you can only use it to defend Nigeria from external aggression. You can only use it to preserve the territorial integrity of Nigeria. Or thirdly, if there's a massive insurrection in the country which needs to be put down, then the president can do so under conditions laid down by the National Assembly.
The arrangements were pre-planned. Heads of all security commands in Osun, including the police, the army, and the DSS, were ordered to hands off on the command of operations while the governorship election lasted. The then Commissioner of Police, Ibrahim Maishanu, was redeployed to the command headquarters in Abuja within that period. Augustine Evakhabokun thus took over while the election lasted. The head of the zonal headquarters of the police, Zone 11, AIG Ambrose Aisabor, was replaced with AIG Nasarawa, just as the State Director DSS, Andrew Iyorkayar, was stood down while Ekanonem and Adegboye took charge during the periods.